Liver King here. I got 1 pound of delicious raw liver right in front of me because liver is king. Here we go. My intestines are shattered. I do enemas every day to take a shit. I have to lay down on the ground with the fetal position with my legs to the left to actually go to the bathroom.
Yes, I've seen everything that's been happening with the Liver King recently. This is someone that I've talked about over the years, and recently it's pretty clear something has happened to his mental. It's downright sad and scary, actually. He got arrested like 2 days ago now for making terroristic threats against Joe Rogan, even going so far as to travel to Austin, seemingly with the sole purpose of attacking him, or, in his words, challenging him and fighting him honorably.
No joke, I legit ended up in the ER after trying the Liver King diet. Chills, fever, non-stop vomiting. Y'all, this ain't it.
Tried raw liver after watching Liver King? Stomach said nah. Been hugging the toilet for 2 days straight. Never again.
Day 3 of eating raw liver to get primal with Liver King. Now I'm on antibiotics and electrolytes. Primal pain is real.
Curiosity turned into conviction. Brian took on the name Liver King. But he didn't just consume liver. He pushed a gripping lifestyle he called the ancestral way. It might sound wild, but once you heard him speak, you understood why millions bought in. Raw organ meat, morning sun sessions, sleeping on hard floors, training like a caveman, all wrapped up in 9 principles that sounded like sacred doctrine. But that primal image, flawless and fierce, was also the root of his downfall. Because the Liver King kingdom was built on a single falsehood.
Nobody lives the way that I live. I think at the end of the day, if you say he's got an ass full of steroids, invariably some people want to look like Liver King. They want to look like me.
Back then, the world was tired, sick of shallow advice and broken promises. People turned to Liver King not just for nutrition tips, but for hope, proof that a strong, vibrant body was possible again through authenticity and change. Call it a fantasy of primitive life. But for millions of young people stuck in unhealthy bodies, stressed minds, and constant comparison, Liver King wasn't funny. He was a rally cry. Pure instinct, raw strength. No filters. No tricks. Just meat and grit. He wasn't just admired, he was idolized. A middle finger to processed food and sterile gyms. Protein powders were tossed. Bull testicles became the new fuel. It sounds insane, but I've never seen anyone inspire such radical life changes by simply eating organs on camera.
Listen, people are hurting. They're living a life of hate, hurt, suffering, struggle. Their life sucks. There's a better life to live if we model, teach, and preach this ancestral way.
Then came the supplements. A brand called Ancestral emerged, sounding like it came straight from ancient cave walls. Pills packed with liver, kidney, bone marrow, all sold as capsules of ancient power, a wild legacy reborn. But what sold them wasn't the blend, it was Liver King's physique. If he could build that shredded, godlike body naturally, then $65 a bottle seemed like a small price to reconnect with primal greatness. Sales soared, breaking past $100 million yearly. His fans weren't just customers, they became loyal disciples. His words were gospel. For a while, I even wondered, had he uncovered something the modern world lost?
Pancreas, which is usually tough because of the consistency, right? Then you have heart, which is really delicious and mild, but you have elastin in there and a lot of collagen. You get that connective tissue. It's like gum. You're going to be chewing that all day. And you probably know that this one is testicle, like you said, really mild, almost like a scallop or something. And then this is a king. This is liver right here. This was filtering blood just this morning, so it's actually really fresh.
So this morning?
This stuff is really
But have you noticed? When someone hits the top, admiration is quickly followed by suspicion. I couldn't stop staring at his body, not in awe, but in disbelief. How does a 45-year-old man stay that ripped? Abs carved from stone, arms like oak, glowing skin, all from liver, sun, and stone floors? Really? I tried convincing myself, but the doubt lingered, and I wasn't alone. Then Joe Rogan said something on his podcast, and it cracked the whole illusion wide open.
I assumed you were on steroids. I was talking to one of your guys, and I was like, yeah, he's on steroids, right? Like, people don't look like that. He was like, no, he's not. And I think I'd heard Rogan say you were on steroids.
Flaws. You're going to see a more realistic representation of how they look. So when we look at the Liver King's physique, it's crazy.
I kept brushing off my doubts because a part of me still wanted to believe. But everything changed after Rogan spoke. He didn't mock, he questioned. And that one line hit harder than any accusation.
super jacked, and he was telling people that the way he gets that way is by sunning his balls.
It wasn't mean. It wasn't dramatic. But it hit like a hammer in a quiet room. And when Joe Rogan speaks, people lean in. He's known for honesty, for asking the questions others won't. He's talked to doctors, fighters, thinkers. He knows when something's off. And then came Derek, the guy behind More Plates, More Dates. If Joe lit the fuse, Derek chased the explosion. Calm and methodical, he studied every frame of Liver King's videos. Muscles too round, chest too cut, skin too thin, a pattern anyone familiar with steroids would recognize. And Derek posed a question, not just to one person, but to the entire tribe who once believed.
There's no way you can look like that. In your 40s, that jacked. I mean, he's preposterously jacked. Do we have a fucking... now that we know that he's full of shit, we're talking about the Liver King.
Right then, I realized I wasn't the only one doubting. That one question spread like cracks in ice, slow at first, then fast. Fans talked. Doctors analyzed. YouTube overflowed with videos. Liver King stopped being an icon. He became a case study. But still, there was no hard evidence, just theories. Until Derek came back. This time, he wasn't speculating. He exposed a leaked email signed by Brian Johnson himself. It spelled everything out: testosterone, Omnitrope, Deca, Winstrol, prescribed and tracked by a hormone clinic. A whopping $11,000 per month. No more guessing. The man who swore he was 100% natural was the product of injections and pharmaceutical precision. The truth exploded across platforms. This wasn't just backlash, it was a digital storm. And then, the confession came. A video. Liver King, quiet, seated on a leather throne. No liver. No shouting. Just a heavy stare and a haunting first sentence.
Because I lied, and I misled a lot of people. I've stated that this is a complicated as topic, at least to me it is, because before social media, I was rich and anonymous, and after social media, I'm still rich.
Did you hear that? He didn't deny it. But he didn't say sorry either. Instead, he twisted the truth into a mission for the people.
I've convinced myself that this had nothing to do with the ancestral message. I convinced myself that I'm not a competitive athlete of any kind, so who the am I?
Liver King's confession was a masterclass in manipulation. And that's the core issue. In today's influencer world, good intentions are often shields for deceit. He wasn't the first to lie, but the cold, calculated way he delivered it made it feel hollow. Did you notice how the story shifted? From "I tricked you" to "I sacrificed for you." He flipped the script, from fraud to savior, from liar to misunderstood hero. After that staged confession, I thought it would be over. Maybe he'd go dark for a while. Lay low. But no. It only got weirder. Instead of retreating, Liver King leaned into chaos. Picture this: a bare-chested man in a fox fur hat, gold AR-15s in both hands, pacing a luxury suite. His face was stiff. His stare, unhinged. Then, staring into the lens, he declared war.
Joe Rogan, I'm calling you out. My name's Liver King. Man to man. I'm picking a fight with you. Yeah. I have zero training in jiu-jitsu. You're a black belt. You should dismantle me. But I'm picking a fight with you.
That look wasn't confidence. It was collapse. His eyes were wide, too wide. Jaw clenched, like he was trying to hold himself together but losing grip. Under the soft hotel lights, there was no primal glow, just chaos. Rage, panic, and a fear even he probably couldn't explain. He wasn't the Liver King anymore. Just a broken man, trapped in the ruins of the image he created. And within 24 hours, social media exploded with claims, unconfirmed, unverified. Posts said Brian Johnson had been escorted from the Four Seasons in Austin. That he wore an ankle monitor. That he was court-ordered to get a psych eval within 7 days. Some even said he was banned from coming within 200 meters of Joe Rogan. But no official proof followed. Just a blur of rumors. Still, that moment was the turning point. The king had fallen. Now he was met with side eyes, pity, or worse, ignored completely. A spectacle. A cautionary tale. And the big question began spreading. How could someone so powerful, so admired, throw it all away like that? He had millions of fans. A business empire worth hundreds of millions. A community that idolized him. People who treated his words like law. Liver King had everything. But in the end, it wasn't fame or fortune that broke first, it was trust. The most fragile currency any influencer holds. And when that trust cracked, the people who followed his lifestyle, raw meat and hard stone, abandoned him. The tribe fell apart. Half angry, half confused. Then came the fallout. Refunds. A $25 million lawsuit. Dismissed but unforgettable. Brand deals ended. Inventory gathered dust like relics from a fallen civilization. And behind the myth stood Brian Johnson. Not invited to speak anymore. Not welcomed on podcasts. Not seen as inspiration, just a warning. A digital parable. A pretender whose empire was made of lies. And when those lies were exposed, there was no time left to rediscover who he really was. Some say this is just another scandal. One more fall from grace in an endless scroll. But if you zoom out, you'll see something deeper. A tragedy of our time. A world where image means more than integrity, and feel-good stories sell better than facts. Brian Johnson didn't just tell a lie, he lived inside it. And when reality finally came for him, he didn't apologize, he performed. He didn't choose the truth, he chose the spotlight. So the final question isn't just about him. It's about us. In a world that rewards performance over honesty. When will we finally have the courage to just be real? Like, subscribe, and support my channel.